Good evening and welcome. Well, we have a few in the house this evening, this morning, this afternoon, this evening. It's evening, isn't it? It's getting darker, isn't it, out there, eh? Getting darker. Wow, Jay Brooker first in the house. Beat everybody. Beat Mr. Spruce. Kevin, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Spruce. Good evening, Richard Greer. Uh, Andrew Trentin. Denver Skinner, good evening. Graham Allison, good evening. Angela Mead, good evening to you. Robert Jeffrey, Chris Duval, Karen Murphy, David Jones. Good evening to my darling wife, Sue Yu, in the background. Sue Yu, I'll see you later. Not Tables Carlos, good evening. And Stephen Webb, good evening. Lars Brakaland, good evening to you, sir. We have 27 people. James Voice, good evening. We have 27 people in the house. So, what's the subject we're going to hit tonight then? Dog training? Martin Lawrence, good evening. It's been hot. It's been hot down here in sunny Cornwall. So I've been having to take it a little bit easy with these dogs because it's been that hot. Paul Jarvis, good evening to you. Who's got COVID? Not the tables, Carlos. Don't say that.
Should we talk about, I think we said.
Yeah, should we talk about COVID? Should we talk about getting tested? Anybody got a cough and have to go to Cardiff? You're looking very dapper tonight, Mr. Upton. Yeah, I looked at myself earlier and I thought to myself, I'm putting on weight, so I thought I'd cut my hair. How about that? Good evening, Matt Crew. How are you? So, what would you like to talk about tonight, everybody? Nice t-shirt. Do you like the t-shirt, Chris? I didn't like this. I thought this was horrible. It's too small, and it stands out. It's supposed to be on black. It stands out, but the back's nice. Look at the back, everyone. Can they see that, Susan?
Yes.
What, just or all of it?
All right.
There you go. That's the back. It's very slimming. That's it. That's why I got it. Yeah. And could you pass the other t-shirt here, please? So, what we've got is that's the logo we wanted. That size. Now, I've asked the wife if she'd wear it. Would you wear it or not? She's going to wear it, is she? Now, the thing is, I know she wouldn't have, never mind the bollocks on the back, so I got her a little matching t-shirt so it could be a team, if we get seen out in the town. But I got this on the back. How about that, everyone? It actually says, invest in tennis balls. They have a high return rate. She looked at it and went, what the hell's it got that on the back for? Well, I thought, never mind the bollocks on the back, she wouldn't wear. So I got her that. And guess what? I've not even had a kiss for it. Nothing. Not even a bloody thank you. Good evening, Larry. Good evening. Good evening, Paul Watkins. Paul Jarvis, can you explain Dave's video in more detail, please, Chris? It was good to watch, but I think the dog was going to be a problem with the way the chastisement was being given. Thanks. I'd love to talk about that video, but I want to talk about that video on Patreon on Sunday night. I found that because this is open to everybody and anybody, we've not had any nasty bitchiness or anything on here, have we? We're not for a long time since that crazy woman in Scotland attacked us. I'm fed up with watching trainers rip into each other. But guess what? You have a right to rip into somebody if someone's giving you grief. And so there's nothing wrong with that. All is fair in love and war, in my attitude, if someone is rubbishing you and they can't leave you alone. And I've seen it happen so many times in the dog training world. Someone gives an opinion, somebody doesn't agree, and someone kicks off. At the end of the day, are we doing the training world any justice by all arguing with each other. We should be able to agree to disagree. We should be able to put our point across without people taking offense. But if you're going to critique somebody's work and you're going to rubbish them, and say things like there's no good dog trainers in the UK, do you think people aren't listening to that? Do you think that might be the reason that you might not be getting the followers? And you could argue the fact I don't want the followers, I only want certain people. Well, great, sure, get on with it. But because I speak my mind, I upset a few people, as we all know. But it's one of them things that I believe that in the dog training world, we should be honest and open and say what we feel. And you should be able to ask questions without people getting offensive about them. At the end of the day, if you can't ask questions, there's no point in having debates, is there? There's no point in having live feeds. If you say after every live feed, okay, likes, positives, criticism, any questions, and people ask questions or they give criticism, you've got to be able to take it. If you're on social media, you want the followers. Of course you do, Larry. And Larry's a fine example of that. Larry speaks his mind when he wants to. He says it the way he sees it. He's not going to please everybody, and I'd rather see somebody like that and deal with someone like that, and we can agree to disagree, but we agree on most things. I think most things. And he's across the pond, and I do gun dogs, and he does dogs for clients, and he come from the gun dog background, and we have a lot of respect for each other. And I think that's the way it's got to be. It's got to be respect. If I don't like someone, I just don't follow them. I don't talk about them non-stop unless they're bitching about me, and then I have every right to fire back. And then if I fire back and you don't like it, life's a bitch, and then you die. Go away. Don't attack others if you don't like criticism. And that's what it's about, everyone. And I listen to so many live feeds about dog training because I'm interested in learning and watching how people conduct themselves. I find it's just as fascinating as dog training, the psychology behind the way people think, the way people come up with the ideas, the people who follow. And I can tell you that I've put so many people onto other trainers. Why? Because they're not a threat to me. But if I like that trainer, I say to people, have you seen this person? I like his work, and I promote them. And I've always done that because I believe that there's this hate out there is not doing us any good in the dog training world. And yet, yes, I've had my fights on the internet. I've had my disagreements. And yes, I'll stand up for myself and fight my corner if I believe I'm right. But at the end of the day, if I've upset someone and I generally didn't mean to upset them, I would apologize. I would send them a message in private. And that's the nice thing about the internet. You know, real men don't need to have a bitch fight on the internet. They can go and do it in private. If you want to have an argument in private, go and have it in private. If you want to drag it into the social media and try and make a name for yourself by rubbishing others, I don't think it works. I think it backfires on you. I had to prove a point. I had to stand up to that crazy woman in Scotland who was telling everybody and feeding everyone that I beat and kick dogs. That is a different thing completely to gun dog trainers disagreeing with each other or not particularly liking each other's methods. But do you need to publicize it? Do you need to make a big thing of it and go, this is not what I think is acceptable. This isn't dog training. Each to their own, I say. If you get results, and the guys that I like are the guys that put up the before, the middle, and the after. And that's how people learn. But if you're just putting up the before and the after, how are people learning? At the end of the day, I'm looking forward to the Larry Crowan and Jamie Penrith live feed. I think it's on Sunday. I think I've seen Larry advertising it. He may be able to tell you on here. I'm looking forward to that because I hope it's educational. And yet, things can be sociable. Things can be sociable, as in mates having a chat with each other and having a bit of a laugh and asking questions. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. One of the fine examples I found listening to Larry's videos talking to black people in the dog training world, they've been eye-opening, some of them. And I've thought to myself, what wonderful people that he's brought forward and gave them a platform to speak. and they've been articulate. I'm not being funny because they're black and they're articulate, and that's strange. No, it just shows what wonderful people and rounded, well-being people they are, and the way they put themselves across was absolutely fantastic. And I've had a few people say to me, "Yeah, but I want to learn about dog training. I don't want to listen to that sort of stuff. Not interested. I listen to what I want to listen to." And I found it very, very interesting. And I found that Larry's approach with it, and the friendliness and the similarities with each other, was absolutely fantastic. And they were fantastic because I'm not being funny, and I'm being totally honest. The first one left me a little bit skeptical. Nice enough lady, but she definitely felt that she'd been done to in certain ways, and she explained it. And I like the fact she explained it. Mahogany, I think her name wasn't it? Mahogany, I think. And then after that, there's some other guys come on, and I've been listening to them. And the more you listen to it, the more you learn that there's some wonderful, wonderful people out there. And that's what it's about. Well, you've got the media now where you used to have to sit and watch the shit on TV. And the shit on TV is rubbish. I hardly watch anything on TV, but I love dog training debate. I love people giving the reasons why they got into it, how they got into it. I mean, my story is amazing, the way it went, the way it became very popular on Facebook, with 7,000 subscribers. I mean, Larry's got absolutely far more than that. And like Larry said, he's not a professional dog trainer as such, although, he trains and takes money off people. He's got another job as well, as, well, it's up to Larry if he wants to tell you he does tell you, doesn't he? So he's into policing, isn't it? And for him to have the following he's got and the videos he's put up is fantastic. And I cannot support him enough. And that's why I stood up and supported him publicly when another trainer was having a go at him, because I don't think it was acceptable in my eyes. But it's up to the trainer, isn't it? If that trainer wants to do that and he wants to make a name for himself in that way, he can. Do I rubbish that trainer completely? No, I don't. I like some of the stuff the trainer does. And I think the trainer has got some understanding, but I don't like his approach. And I've said it publicly. And I'm not saying that because Larry's on it. I've said that before because Danny Wells and Jonas Black had a live feed the other day, and I was having a laugh with them. Why? Because I find it's absolutely hilarious. It's pathetic that people take umbrage so much about something someone said. Well, if you rubbish them, you've got to take the consequences. If they want to fire back and fire back, that's up to them. But Jonas Black and Danny Wells was good. Yeah, I thought it was, Chris. It was funny. I agree with so much of what was said. We're all different characters. We all handle things differently, don't we? And at the end of the day, who's perfect? I don't know. But if you put your head above the parapet, you've got to be prepared to be shot at. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. I learned that a long, long time ago. But guess what? I've got a lot of respect for my videos, and I've got a lot of respect for standing up and saying it the way I see it. And I appreciate that, because I'd rather be known for the guy who says it the way he sees it. Now, you could argue, I don't know if any of you saw it. Did you see the Chris Upton video that's gone around, trying to promote one of the magazines, shooting magazines, saying that people need to come together and stop bickering about the two subjects, because we're actually closer to each other than we think. Well, I hold my hands out and say, well done if that's the case. But I think he suffers from Asperger's syndrome, doesn't he? I think, if I'm right, I'm not, because I'm dyslexic, I struggle a little bit there. But I think that he's quite sharp and says what he feels, doesn't he? And sometimes I just think, what a freaking idiot that bloke is. But guess what? I listen, because we're on the same level of the interest of the countryside, the interest of saving this the future for the younger generation coming on. And same with lead shot and stuff like that. If we don't read and debate it and talk it, we have no understanding. Anyway, Andrew Cheney, message retracted. I don't know why. I don't know what was said. Sorry. Oh, hang on. Sunday on Sunday YouTube. Larry Crone is on Patreon. Yeah, that's it. He said that. Yeah, no problem at all. Oh, okay. And I'll add you. Thanks. I have you on YouTube already. Great stuff. Oh, spelling mistake. That's all. No problem at all. And like I say, people can come on here and give their opinion. You do not have to agree with me. You can ask me questions, awkward questions, and I'll answer them. But that question we had earlier is a great question, but I want to use that on Patreon. And the reason I want to use it on Patreon is because I want to explain it a little bit more. Because I ummed and ahed about putting that video up. Because the dog it seemed to be making a noise, and he was so soft giving the correction with the dog. He ran at the dog too hard, and if he's been a little bit too heavy, Dave, and I appreciate Dave for letting me put that up, but it's been put up on Patreon, so I don't really want to talk about it too much on here, other than to show you how, if you're not shown how to use correction, how do you know how to use correction? And that's what's really important. I'd like to sit down with Larry and have a serious chat about e-collars and e-collar training, but the problem is we're using the e-collar in slightly a different way, where I don't use the e-collar to put the stop on the dog, right? And I think that people would love a chat with Larry and myself, two people who have an understanding of dog training but approach it in slightly a different way, and we can agree to disagree. That doesn't mean we have to fall out, but the questions I want to ask sometimes are a little bit awkward, and sometimes trainers probably think, is he testing us? Is he trying to catch us out on something? Because if you don't teach nothing with the e-collar, and Larry says this himself, then if you've got a dog chasing sheep, cheers Larry, we can one day get it on. Yeah, if we got it's hard to type sometimes, and so when you're talking and reading, you're trying to read stuff, and then if I asked a question and Larry started typing out a long essay, it may be difficult for Larry. So sometimes it's easier just to get on and chat with each other and know that these two guys will ask questions and they'll answer the questions, and they'll answer them in a fair, honest way. Because I was having a debate with another dog trainer. I've not mentioned his name. He could mention who it was if he wanted to. And he asked a lot of questions. He's a nice, keen lad. And he said to me about sheep chasing. Do you think that when you've actually given a harsh correction for sheep chasing, the reason they do that and they don't give any prior warning and they just go in hard on it, they want that dog to fear that sheep and not go nowhere near that sheep. That I can understand to a certain extent. But then he said to me, then that means that if the dog gets out, because most dogs in the situation get out and chase cattle and chase sheep without the owner being there, the dog won't chase the sheep because it will fear chasing the sheep. And I said, I don't know if that would work. I honestly don't know if that would work. Now, why? Why am I saying that? Because I've never done it. I've never gone out there without any training or conditioning with the e-collar, because they, like everyone says, we don't train with the e-collar, we overlay. That's the way I've been doing it. But guess what? I don't get that many sheep killers. But at the end of the day, I get many a dog want to chase a sheep on the moor, but I bring it in a more gentle way to begin with to teach the behavior on the recall. And I use the verbal cue, come here, and tap, and the dog knows at that point what the e-collar is about. So Larry says, with some dogs it will, with some it won't. Exactly, Larry. That's exactly what I said. With some dogs it would, and some dogs it wouldn't. Because we have exactly the same in the situation of training dogs in the past, when you'd have a dog that was running in on game and not stopping on game. The old-fashioned way was to get out after it, grab hold of it, give it a shake, and drag it back to the spot it ran in on, and blow the stop whistle in its ear. At the end of the day, some dogs will learn from that and not push boundaries, and some dogs will just push through it. And some dogs, if you put pressure on the dog, as in chastisement and discipline, or pain, if you want to call it, some dogs will even get adrenaline buzz from that. And that's why we know that the collar, and we talk about the prong collar, we talk about the e-collar, can actually be used to take the drive up. And they have used it in the past to take the drive up on certain dogs in competition, and it works both ways. You can use it like a volume button. You can take it up and you can take it down. And this is why I think that instead of everybody in the e-collar training world going, e-collar, we use it very minimum and we use it like this. I understand that completely, and we've got to get that point across. But we've got to also explain the fact, like that video I put up on Patreon about Dave, and I asked him first, this is really important, everyone. I asked him first, I said, listen, it won't go up if you don't want it to go up. I said, but I think it will help so many people, because you charging at the dog is frightening the dog to the point that dog is responding and biting you and trying to defend himself through fear, because he's a soft dog. He's not doing it through nastiness, because he's not going in with a nasty bite, but you're getting into a confrontation with him, and like two kids fighting in a playground. And the dog is then winning because Dave backs off after giving the chastisement, and the dog then goes off and does what it wants. Well, if you put the dog on the leash and give a leash correction, the punishment goes through the leash, and you don't get into a confrontation with the dog. And what happened is I put the leash on the dog, and I gave a light correction, and the dog came up the leash at me. And I showed Dave how to control that. So the dog had no advantage on me. He had to learn to not climb up and take the drive up and say, back off. Now, he would have bit me, but I don't think he would have bit me in a vicious, nasty way like some dogs would if you put them under pressure, because they're gun dogs. They're completely different. But what I said to the dog is, you can't get anything from this, and I'm not going to get into a big fight with you. And I took the pressure off instantly as soon as he surrendered. And then he went, right, I give in. I understand what you want. And so I didn't get into a major confrontation with the dog. It was a stroppy, like a stroppy teenager going, blah, 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 and then just, hey, okay, calm down, and put them down. Handle them like a big bear. But it doesn't mean you've got to crush the bones, does it? And that's the whole point. If you're at loggerheads with each other, and this is what's not explained enough in dog training in our world, the gun dog world, isn't it a shame, everybody, that they don't want to come on in the gun dog world? George Webb, George Webb said, and we didn't fall out, laugh out loud. Always appreciate time with you, give me and appreciate many years of experience. Yeah, that's it, William. William George Webb. That's the whole point. William asked me that question, and at the end of the day, we can agree to disagree. He can agree that some trainers will say, once you've done it and you've gone in hard and you not give any warning and the dog fears the sheep, then the dog will never go near the sheep again. Well, it depends if it's had blood in its mouth, the same as a dog with bite work. And if you take the drive right up, trust me, you're going to have to be firm on that dog to bring it back. And there's a fine line between overdoing it and having the drive and a beautiful out. And at the end of the day, that's not my area of expertise. But do I watch the guys do it who can do it properly? Yes, I do. It's art. It's artwork. We are artists in our own right. And that's what I'm saying. Hate to ask, but does anybody actually know if or when the e-collar in England is due to be banned? And that's why a good question, Paul. That's why it's important for Larry and Jamie Penrith to make a video and everybody share it. If you want these tools not to be taken off us, but people to be educated, it's the same as, I think Larry has said it himself. He can correct it if I'm wrong, but I don't think he uses a prong collar. I don't use a prong collar. But do I condemn people? Excuse me. Do I condemn people who do use a prong collar? Well, yes. If I see them hanging a dog off a prong collar and the dog is in sheer fear, then yes. But we talk about flattening dogs as well, and this is an important point. Somebody said to me, do you think his dogs look flattened? And I said, well, in fact, I do think some of the dogs look flattened, but is that a problem? Because at the end of the day, if they're not competition dogs and they're just going to be pet dogs and you want them to avoid the sheep, then is it better to have a safe dog that's not going to be shot, that avoids the sheep and wants to stay with you and he's a little bit sheepish, as we would say, sheepish, get it? Or do you want a dog that's high drive, looking at the sheep, but doesn't go for it? Or do you want the full story? And at the end of the day, I think we need to tell the full story. I think this is the important thing. Sol's in the house. Good evening, Sol. So, Susan, could you read out Denver Skinner's question? He said he's got a question at 20:04.
Yes, we've done it twice.
Come on, then.
Hang on.
I rant because I'm passionate. It's as simple as that.
Hi, Chris. Could you tell me approximately what age you would know if a dog has noise?
So your question, Denver, is could you tell me approximately what age would you know whether a dog's got noise? when it made it. But the thing is, just because a dog makes noise, Denver, as a puppy, it doesn't mean it's going to make noise in competition or in the field. There's a difference. It's like saying the dog barks. Does the dog bark because it's afraid? Does the dog bark because it's aggressive? Does the dog? And that's the same with a puppy. A puppy, you don't make nothing of it over the puppy. I never rush puppies. And I've been listening to some of these people that Larry's been speaking to and other people have been speaking to, and it's nice that people are coming out and going, no, you don't rush a puppy. You don't stick an e-collar on a puppy. You don't put a prong collar on a puppy. Let a puppy be a puppy. Let it grow up to 8-9 months of age. That's the best time. You know, some people want dogs in at 5 months old. They're too immature sometimes. Sometimes you can get away with it. I've taken in dogs at 6 months old and worked miracles with them, and they were little buggers. But at the end of the day, trust me, give me a dog at 8-9 months old, and I can start getting into the training with the dog. And it's no discipline. There's no obedience to begin with. It's just gameplay. It's building that bond, and then we start to put in boundaries, and we put in structure, and we put in guidance. And what people are so fast to do in the dog training world is to rubbish a 2-minute clip or a 30-second clip of a video, but not look at the overall picture or look at the overall comments and how that person is portraying themselves on the internet on a regular basis. How many gun dog trainers actually give you a live feed and will answer questions and be totally honest about giving discipline and giving correction and actually telling people to back off, you're being too hard? You know, oh, hang on, you need to go in a little bit harder because the dog's not understanding it and never will respond to that. There's a fine line between knowing how to use discipline and correction. And it's not a subject that we can just pass on a book. If we wrote a book about it, you just can't pass it on. There's nothing finer than watching the videos of watching the dog, of how you change the mindset by using the correction and the movement and the timing at the right time. And I think that is invaluable for people. And I think that's the reason that my gun dog site has took off the way it did and the following we had. And, you know, at the end of the day, when people have to come over to Patreon, they don't have to give their true name. They can just give Tony or Michael or something like that if they want to. But some people don't want to come on there because they know there's a record of who's paid and who's not paid and who's subscribed in that. But at the end of the day, for £6 a month, it's not the price of a coffee a week, is it? And to have the access to a trainer that you can have a live feed and we can chat like we do without any idiots coming in and giving us shit. You know, that's what we had on here to begin with when we first started coming on. They don't come on anymore because we don't get into a debate with them, do we? We just delete and block. That's the best way to deal with it. Years ago, I used to argue with them. There's no point in arguing with them. You're wasting your time arguing with people who are just looking to cause trouble. And so when we get someone like that on, just delete. That's the best way, because it's too. Your Patreon stuff is great. So thank you, Larry. That's really nice of you. I felt guilty going down Patreon way, and it wasn't for Soul. If it wasn't for Soul saying no, you've done enough for the dog training world, the gun dog world. You've helped so many people for over 7 years for free videos and 5,500 videos for free, and give advice and give a live Wednesday night, and people can ask questions. It's lovely on Patreon for one reason, because the questions come up in the question screen, and if anyone wants to ask a question, I don't have to keep flicking up and reading the screen. So it's important that we go back to Denver's question for him, because I didn't really answer it, because, like I say, my mind's running a little bit. Noise in dogs, Denver, varies for so many different reasons. Some dogs make noise because they fret. Some dogs make noise through excitement. And so you've got to watch that dog and assess that dog. So if you've got a dog that you put in a rabbit pen at, say, 5 months of age, and you let it chase in a rabbit pen to see what the hunting drive is like, because what we don't do is take dogs out and put them on scent too soon, because the biggest problem most people have, and what you see when they come to me, is how many dogs have you seen lately that are non-retrievers at 2 years of age, or poor retrievers, or poor delivery. So that's what you work on. You work on the things that you need to get right before you tap into that natural ability. Now, most dogs will hunt. Now, some dogs in a rabbit pen need 10 chases. Some dogs need 1 chase. Like I've said before, if you put a dog in a rabbit pen and he chases and he goes flat out and he's not nearly catching a rabbit and he's smashing through cover, Get him out that rabbit pen and go and train him, because he's ready for training, serious training. If you put a dog in there and it wanders up and down the paths and doesn't go in the cover, and it sees movement and it doesn't want to chase it, you start putting obedience into that dog, you'll suppress the dog even more. And you'll find that the people who try and put the obedience into the dog to begin with, and that was the old school way, obedience, 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 but as sports trainers in different aspects of sport who had to win with dogs, who wanted to win with dogs on a regular basis, we soon learned we have to have better dogs than everybody else. We can't just have average dogs and finish on the day unless you're in the clique. If you're in the clique, that happens. You know, the bent side of it. Patreon has got to be so much quality on there. It's unreal. Something to watch and learn from for everyone. That's it. Peter Taylor, Harley is ready for training. There you go. He caught a rabbit. Harley caught a rabbit, and Peter was pulling his hair out. Watching your drone footage today, brilliant, Chris. Work. It's just playing with that. I mean, I just love photography. I love music. I mean, that's what that Larry was talking about with a number of other trainers. You know, I had record shop. You know, a lot of my friends know I had record shops actually with staff and that. And in the prime of the music, when vinyl was out, I mean, I was in the element. I loved it. I ate and drink and slept music, and it was my passion. And then it's like a painter and decorator doesn't go home and paint his own house, does he? You know, because he's doing it all day. So I didn't used to go home and listen to music in the same way as I do now. Well, I've still got lots and lots of music, and people say to me, you know, vinyl's coming back. Vinyl will never come back in the same way as downloads. It's so easy and convenient, isn't it? I mean, I can go out training and put music on, or I can go, you know, listening to a podcast on the internet with earphones on. So I'm training at the same time. I'm not just laying on my couch listening to stuff on the internet. I'm actually training, because you don't really need to talk to a dog much. You can actually train or take dogs for a walk and listen to stuff on. I'm just hungry for knowledge and understanding, even now with the knowledge I've got. Stephen Webb, serious question, Chris. After watching today's video, you wearing shorts, are those legs? If so, Sue, are those your legs? If so, Sue, I thought you had taste. Bloody cheeky bastards. Do you know what? I got darkish skin because I'm out in the sun all the time. And when I was a youngster, up to my 40s, I was sailing and I was out dog training. And as soon as I started putting Wellingtons on, and because I'm not having ticks up on the moor on my bare legs, as soon as I started wearing Wellingtons, all the hair fell off my bloody legs. It went like a bowled chicken. And now we laugh because I hardly ever go around in shorts, but it's been that hot this week. It's been fantastic. And yet, so you're gonna have to put up with that. I nearly went skinny dip, and I nearly went naked in there. It was that nice the other day. That would have shocked you all, and I may have got banned on Facebook.
Richard Gear's asking a question that goes into.
Hang on, William Webb says the more you tune with the dog, the less I find yourself saying as they are following. There you go, it's following. Go on, Sue.
It follows on from Denver's. He's asking a question: would high protein food cause more noise, Chris?
Yes, it can cause noise. That's a good question. Who said that?
Richard Gear.
Yeah, Richard Gear. You're dead right, Richard. High protein. We used to feed Eukanuba, and Eukanuba was causing joint problems because of the high protein, and the dogs were just gaining so much fat and so much, and they wasn't given the time for the bones to develop. And they then realized that the high protein food does a number of things. It creates a higher drive, a more manic dog, and so the lesser protein, sometimes they worked out that you're better off with the lesser protein. You need a quality food for pups. I've seen something else on here for Denver. Denver's asking something else. My new pup is just playing a game, races out, picks one of Ray's puppy dummies, and races back and gives it to hand. Really fun. Well, there you go. One of my new pup, or your new pup, that's your spaniel, is it? That's your spaniel. You've come over from the dark side. Hi, Chris. Have you listened to any Marcus King? If not, give him a try. Yes, I have. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. So, oh my God, no more Reginald Perrin, please. Yeah, just fold your clothes up. Sue said, no, you're not going to do that, are you? You're not going to do that, Chris. What if someone comes around the corner? What is wrong with a 58-year-old bloke going skinny dipping in the river? Hey? Honestly, when in my 20s, she would have joined me. Anyway.
It wouldn't be your legs, it'd be worrying about it. Oh, God.
She said it wouldn't be my legs she'd be worrying about. Honestly.
Earthbound
Uh,
pheasant, pheasant.
yeah, liver and white boy. Go on. Come on, Susan. You have to say it loud.
Right. How do I get my young Springer to bring back high value retrieves other than placeboard? She will bring okay to a placeboard, but not without.
Unless you've not read that right. So I don't quite understand when you say high value retrieves. What do you mean high value retrieves? Do you mean, are you talking about pheasant? Are you talking about cold game, warm game? Is that what you're talking about? It's rather than a dummy and the dog's just not coming back to you? Read the question again, please, Suze.
How do I get my young Springer to bring back high value retrieves other than placeboard? She will bring okay to a placeboard, but not without.
Right, you put the dog on a long line, and if you throw something out, the dog goes out to pick it, picks it up, and then doesn't bring it back. Wait till the dog drops it, take it off the dog, slip the lead over the dog's head, and give a leash correction tug, and say, "Come here, come here." Reinforce it without something in the dog's mouth. Never punish the dog with something in its mouth. Never chase the dog with something in its mouth. But you just got to wait. So if that's not working, you've got to go back to doing it without the retrieve of any sort to begin with. And then every time the dog goes wrong, go back out to it, slip the lead on, and be consistent. Do the same thing each time. Now
it says he come back and said different dummy.
Well, I don't understand why when you say different dummy, do you mean a dummy with rabbit skin and feathers on is a high value? Because a dummy should just be a dummy. You should get the dog to pick any object, whether it's a dummy, whether it's a canvas dummy, whether it's got rabbit skin, feathers on it. That's not high value. High value would be something like a pheasant, because you'll find that an old canvas dummy, if you've got something that a dog wants to pick and bring back, and work on that till you're getting 99.9% retrieves with that. Put yourself in an alleyway, put yourself in a pathway, and get the dog to go down the path and back up. And especially this time of year when the cover's thick on both sides, a young dog doesn't really want to go into the cover with it. So it's got one way to go, either back towards you or back down the alleyway. So you can condition the dog that way. By moving backwards, the dog would normally come towards you, and then you can sort of block it off. The place board's not the answer for everything, not for everything, because in the real world, you don't go out with a place board. The place board is a learning platform that you can build that up on a place board. Then you've got to do it. And this is the same scenario as what Larry does in his yard with his long line, and he's conditioning the dog, and then he conditions the dog with food. If that's the way you want to do it, you can do it that way. At the end of the day, as a gun dog, what I don't want the dog doing is dropping the retrieve, waiting for the food. So you have to make sure you get your timing right if you're going to use food. Doesn't mean I don't use food, because you've seen me using food, but I use food if I have to. I don't use food all the time. That's just a preference that I think works. That it's the same as the e-collar. I don't have to condition every dog on the e-collar. Now,
he says it's an orange rubber thing, like a vibrator.
There you go then. There you go. Does it vibrate? Plain dummy and one with a rabbit skin close together, and most dogs will take the rabbit skin. Higher value. Exactly, Karen. That's a higher value dummy. That's when you said higher value dummy. That's why. Earthbound pheasant. I like a vibrator. Good for you. Was it Earthbound pheasant who was saying this?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So don't worry about that then. I thought it was not the tables, Carla. Sorry. I didn't realize it was not. He does come out with some strange things sometimes. I like a vibrator. No problem, Earthbound. Well, you go. There we go. We'll move on from that question, shall we? Hi, Chris. What age can you bring cold game into a puppy? Well, cold game for a puppy, I use feathers first, obviously. That's Earthbound again. No. That's David Benbridge. Hi, Chris. What age can you bring a cold game in with a puppy? It's funny because you can give a puppy a flapping pigeon, right? And if you give a puppy a flapping pigeon, there's no fear, because the pups haven't got the same fear. But you wait until that dog reaches 8-9 months old. If you haven't done cold game and feathers and wings and rabbit skins, sometimes the dog can look at it and go, "You're joking. I'm not picking that." The smell of it or the movement of something can frighten the living daylights out of it. So sometimes if you've got a wing clip pigeon, and you just you put it on the floor and you just roll it over or dizzy it, and you put it over on the floor, the dog will go in and pick it, and it'll flap and it won't bother a young pup and it'll just carry it. But you want to do it with cold feathers first. You don't go straight onto warm game. It's as simple as that. Now, some dogs are never ever damaged game, but a good professional trainer can read that very, very quickly with a dog. If you start to get a dog mouthing it or being silly with it, trying to pluck a pigeon, get that pigeon off that dog. It's not ready for it. But some dogs will just pick it and carry it and not even think nothing of it. But what you don't want to do is the dog racing off with it. And that's why if you've got a good recall, that's when you can start doing that with a young dog. If you haven't got a recall and the dog runs off with it and starts mouthing it and pulling feathers out of the bird, then you're going to create yourself all sorts of problems. Start with a sock, in my best advice. There you go. Sock, eh? Dog went out. The ball went down dip. Dog finally picked it. 100 wasps followed. Nightmare. Dog was bitten to buggery, and so was I. I went to assist. And any thoughts on healing stings? No, I haven't. I did take my daughter to Scotland once, and I was hunting dogs through the woods, and I kept looking back and said, "Come on, Kate, keep up." And then she started screaming. And I turned around and said, "What's the matter now?" She says, I'm being stung. And she stood on an hornet's nest, and the hornets were chasing her. And she had about 30 hornets in her hair, and I was slapping these hornets out of her hair and saying, "Come on." She was crying her eyes out. I took her down the shops, and I was going to get her something for and if there was a chemist anything there, and I bought some sweets, and she was absolutely fine. They didn't actually sting her. They were in her hair, and they didn't actually sting her, luckily, because I was smacking them out her hair. But it was so funny. I'm going, keep up, and she's running in the opposite direction. Sorry, guys, just got in. Good evening, Chris and Sue. Hope you're all right. That's Pierre's in the house, everybody. Andrew Trainer, can you raise pigeons or quail or something in your yard and use them in training without the dog getting used to them, or is the best way to have them away from the dog unless in the field? Andrew, you do not need to train with them. As a professional trainer, it makes life so much easier. It makes life so much easier. Can we put it up on today's internet in this country? No. Can the Americans do it? Yeah, because they're more liberal than we are, aren't they? At the end of the day, they carry guns as well, don't they? And they threaten to shoot people. At the end of the day, the crazy way the world is at the moment, you only have to get an handful of nasty aunties who get after you, and you just got nothing but hassle. And is it worth it? So there's nothing illegal against it if you're not being cruel. And gun dogs are bred with a very soft mouth, and that's the way they should be. And many a trainer will use live game in certain situations. But is it a thing we really want to be promoting to the public? Not really. Not because it's like anything in it. It's like we're supposed to be a more tolerant society, aren't we? And we're supposed to now put up with everybody who wants to be transgender, this and that and this and that. And that doesn't bother me. If that's what they want to do, they do what you want to do. But I don't want it rammed down my throat. I don't want it forced on me every day. So I know it happens. I know it's there. Everyone to their own. But I don't want to be debating with people about it all the time. It's the same scenario as that. Some people are anti-hunting. Some people are anti-this, anti-that. Some people were saying, oh, anybody who uses a prong collar on a dog or an e-collar on a dog is a cruel bastard and shouldn't be training dogs, and they haven't got a clue. It's about education. We have to educate. We have to show how we use them to get the best out of them. But in that situation with the birds, it's the same as shooting. There's the argument, do you put up shooting videos of us shooting birds and dogs running out for runners, or do you just show the dogs running out and coming back with dead game? We know that there's live game that they pick because it's been wing clipped or touched, and we have to train the dogs to do it. And in reality, 25 years ago, if we had the internet and you were putting that up there, I don't think we'd get the same reaction you get now. There's just too many snowflakes out there, unfortunately. And you have to stand up for yourself, don't get me wrong, but do we really need to sort of fight everybody who disagrees with us? Can we train them together? Can we train them together, Simon? Something's out going on. Thanks for the reply there. There are some strange dog dummies may just stay with the ball.
Vinegar for stings.
Vinegar for stings. There you go. Denver Skinner just came in soaking wet from playing in the water bowl. There you go. Any more questions, Susan? Dog went. I've done that one. So, does anybody want to ask a question? If you want to ask a question, stick it up at the bottom now, so I don't have to flick all the way up through. And I'll be watching the screen now and reading out what you guys say. Obviously, they're having a chat, these lot. Something about a tennis racket and tennis ball.
Because then we've got his puppy, and I think Simon's saying,
Okay.
Simon's saying, yeah, everyone have to get one, so they're having a little yappy yappy.
There you go. So does anybody would like to talk about anything regarding dog training? Regarding questions? Because I think the Wednesdays is just like a piss up these days, isn't it? Wednesday nights. Everybody just gets on here for a good old chin wag, don't they? And that's great. That's great. Everyone having. What was the river in the video? No. The question was.
What's it? Paul Jarvis said. He said the Severn.
The Severn what? River Severn.
He said the river in the video. He thinks it was the Severn.
No, because what was going to do? We were gonna the bridge over the river what? And you said the Severn, the seventh bridge, right? And someone said Tamar Bridge. Well, technically, it's Tamar Bridge. It's Tamar Bridge that links Plymouth with Cornwall. So the River Tamar. It was built in 1961. Same age as me. It's had more facelifts than me. Trust me, right? And you have to pay to go across it. You don't have to pay to go across me. At the end of the day, I love music, and I took the music from a soundtrack. And the question was, and I wanted to see if anyone could suss it, and Jules actually did. So there you go. Over the River Kwai, So, that's his military background. And that music, remember, I don't know if any of you are as old as me, but that music we used to whistle at and sing about Hitler. Hitler, he only had one ball. He lost the other in the war on a barbed wire fence, wasn't it? And that whistling they do on there, we used to whistle that at school, and we used to find that quite funny. Just shows how old I am today. So that's why I asked that question. I asked the question, and I put up the bridge over the river what, and I knew it was an open question in the Albert Hall. Yeah, that's it, Hitler. Yeah, that's right. You're all as old as me, you bastards. Honestly, Luna, yes, but not living told that. Peter Piper, Alec Guinness. There you go, Alec Guinness. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Good film, wasn't it? Good film. They got rather skinny in that. I could do with that diet for a few weeks. Sue says. I've used kids. What? This is it. John Wilson's not as old as us. Bridge over troubled water. Denver Skinner. There you go. Hey, bright eyes. Bright eyes. So, what else were we talking about? When I go on a rant, you lot seem to ask questions, and then when I'm not ranting, I'm going, "Where's the questions?" So let's have a. So, oh God, I don't want to join the army, as and earworm yesterday bothered the cleaning rugby. I give in.
We do it on purpose.
We do it on purpose. Yeah, I think you do, you lot. Yeah, you do.
John said he wanted both dogs together tonight. Christmas things went miles better. The cocker was actually hitting cover with the spring.
That's it, John. By hunting that bitch, it's a hard hunting bitch that is, and she'll just love cover. She comes out bleeding. She loves it. She'll actually teach your dog to go in and have the fun of it, and that's what you can do with a dog that's tight in its hunting. She will actually teach that dog so much. I was listening to I won't mention his name, but a pro trainer that I listened to, and he said dogs don't teach dogs. Yes, they do. Dogs teach dogs bad habits as well as good habits. So if you've got a dog with good traits, the young puppy can pick up those traits. If you've got bad habits, trust me, they can pick up bad habits. Dogs follow. Dogs visual, they follow. And so, I've been in this game too long to listen to stuff and go, oh yeah, okay, I take that on board, and then I'll tell everybody for the next 15 years that, oh, I was told by so-and-so. No, you've got to have open mind. You've got to get out there and actually do these things and practice. And someone asked me the same question. They said, well, why don't you put the stop on the dog with the e-collar, Chris? Because other trainers do. Because I can put the stop on the dog close in, and it's personal between me and the dog. And I can do it with fun-based, as you've seen it with the tennis racket and the tennis ball. And then I can come down firm on the dog, and the dog goes, okay, I know what you mean now. I won't move. Because we've overlaying it, because we've built it up. And that's exactly what I'm saying about training. We teach the behavior, then we can use discipline and correction if the dog blatantly breaks the rules. Do check with your vet, etc., etc. But my dog got savaged by a wasp's Hang on. Someone cancelled that. Don't correct my last word. Hang on. So I was talking about beer. Do check with your vet, etc. But my dog got savaged by a wasp mouse, fell like a balloon. I gave her half a tablet of human antihistamines vet and said you could have given her the whole one at 10 mil. Yeah, you could do. Yeah. And the thing, if something goes wrong, it depends what size your dog is, doesn't it? If you've got a Chihuahua, or you've got a little tiny cocker, and I'm talking about giving a big Labrador or a strong Springer Spaniel medicines, I can get myself into trouble. So I'd rather let the medical people do the medical stuff, and I don't believe they know it all the time. I think a lot of it is guessometry when you go into the vets. Peter Taylor, how long would you expect Harley to get the hang of the stop, because he keeps hitting the end of the long line? I keep shouting sit. We shouldn't be shouting. And sit up and blow the whistle. I only let him do it a couple of times, then sit. You're not doing it right, Peter. You're not doing it right. You've got to. You. That's the problem, Peter. If you watch my videos of the sit on a dog, when I put the firmness of the sit on the dog already knows sit, because I've watched you doing it with the retrieve. You've got to just be firm and take him past that, so he hits the deck and goes, oh, I ain't going to move. You've got to be firm, and I've watched you. And the problem is, it's knowing at the right time when to be firm, because you've created the drive. You've let him catch stuff, not on purpose, but he's caught stuff, and that way the drive's coming up, and he's going to push boundaries. And so when you say I shout at him, you shouldn't be shouting at him. I sit up and blow the whistle, only let him do it a couple of times, then sit. You just got to pick him up by the scruff, backside down, smack that backside. That's no different than applying that e-collar at the right time once the dog understands what you want it to do. It doesn't mean you have to be nasty. It means you've got to be consistent. You've got to be firm at that point. And then the dog will get the message. But trust me, if you can get the dog to sit because of gameplay, then the dog will sit faster than you coming down heavy on it. Because if there's a conflict of interest between you and the dog is saying, you can't do nothing about it, you can't catch me, you can't do this. That's why I do it with the long line on, but I don't use the long line to teach the sit. I use my bodily presence to teach the sit. I want the dog to realize there's going to be a consequence if it doesn't sit, but at the age your dog is now, and that's the difference.
There was a question from David Bainbridge.
Yeah, Karen says, I don't know if this is the way it says. Would you consider selling Rafa? I consider selling everything in the house except my darling wife.
Kieran, Spanner, Stephen.
Everything's for sale in the house at the right price for the right person.
David Bainbridge's question was...
That's business.
Hi, Chris.
Would you... Chris, how old would you let your dog go to stud? Will there be a problem for a young dog 12 months ago? No, do you know, John Griffiths, I've never ever had a problem with stud dogs. I've never had a dog becoming really bitchy once he's had a couple of bitches. No, my dogs have bitches, and they don't even cock their legs because of not the dominance I have over them, but the leadership. And very seldom do my dogs cock their legs until they're about 3.5, 4 years old. Then some of them will start to cock the leg. The amount of dogs you see coming here, especially with customers let the dogs take over, the dog's cocking its leg all the bloody time. It's a pain in the arse. We got 72 people in the house and only 23 likes. You type Barcelonian bargain hunters. I'm never going to get into the top 100 dog trainers again, am I? I was in that top 100 dog trainers on the internet until that Peter Kane wiped me out with videos. And I'm never going to get in there if there's only 25 likes. We need more thumbs up. You know, I'm feeling very, very depressed, you lot.
You had 10 likes. You haven't even come into the order.
See her in the background crowing on again. She's going, you got 10 likes. You ain't even said nothing.
No, you weren't even on.
Oh, we got 30 now. Look, we got an extra 3. Some of you felt guilty then, didn't you?
Right. David Bainbridge's.
I'll tell you what, dog trainers, anybody who says they don't care if you don't like them, I think they talk bollocks. I think we all want to be liked. What are we doing on the internet if we don't want to be liked? Oh, I'm going to go on the internet and piss everyone off. No, I think we come on the internet because we want to be liked. Do I want to become a film star? No, that wasn't my plan. My plan was to help people realize there's so many freaking robbing bastards out there and people misleading others. And the Kennel Club's one of the biggest. Dog for Dog, what's your favorite time of the year? Bedtime. To be with your dogs, working them during the shooting season, out of season whilst training, thinking about how good the season is going to be. Do you know, that's a great question, because guess what? Without the change in seasons, it wouldn't be the same, would it? Because, you know, it's great to go on the shoots. It's great to go rough shooting. It's great to go pigeon shooting at the right time of the year. It's great to get up on the rabbits, and it's great to rest them, isn't it? And it's great to come out and put that summer's training into them. And I can train dogs and watch the contact flush and watch the game away and not have to kill it, because as you get older, you become more enjoy your dog training. You know, I never bought a gun because I wanted to go and kill game. I bought a gun because I wanted to train dogs. And so I'm lucky in that aspect that, yes, I do shoot a lot of stuff during the season because I have to train dogs, and I enjoy shooting. I enjoy training, but I shoot for the dog. I don't shoot for the sport as such. And yeah, it is a sport, isn't it? It's an art in itself, isn't it? There's nothing finer than getting up on the rabbits early August, you know, up in Scotland, and there's nothing finer than when those nights start, getting those frosty mornings, isn't it? And you're getting up and you're knackered, but you get out there and those frosty mornings and the sun comes up and it's fantastic. And yet the weather's changing so much. I think we should move the shooting season in this country forward, back, isn't it? You move it back a month, and I think we should shoot longer. I think we should shoot longer in the season because of the weather change, the way it is. Nothing better than an icy cold frosty morning for taking the dogs out and getting in the woods and working them. And there's nothing worse, is there, than when it gets really hot in the summer and you can't do absolutely nothing, and you've got to wait till it cools right down, and then you're out till silly hours training. But when it cools down, you do that. And I think the ever-changing seasons make it very valuable for us guys and girls that twerk for extra. Twerk for extra, like Chris, laugh out loud, said Angela. I can't find the like button on my phone. There you go. Honestly, Denver. We've got 42 likes. Thank you very much. See that? When you beg, it's amazing what you can get when you're begging it, Sue. Karen says 100% working them in the season when it's ice cold. Yeah, but Karen, as you get older, you don't want the extreme conditions. It's all right for you sleeping under the stars. You know, as we get older, we want luxury. We want the hotel, and we want a bath, so we can get up in the morning and go out nicely and work the dogs all day and come back and relax. A few whiskeys, nice bath, a nice meal, sit down, chat with people. And at the end of the day, it's all right. When I was your age, Kieran, I was under a tent, pissing with rain, dogs loving it. And at the end of the day, as I get older, it's like I want quality, not quantity. Okay. Your thumbs up, your thumbs down, some people are pathetic. You know what? That's so funny, isn't it? That's so funny, isn't it? They are that desperate, aren't they? That I want to make a statement. We get about 3 thumbs down on every video, don't we? I want to make a statement. I put thumbs down. Great. Just fuck off if you don't like them. Just go away. Why do you waste your time? Shipping merch to Canada. What the hell's that? Totally agree with that. Then they really got to make sure they put out. Paul Driver, shooting is on for the season up the Tories. Yeah, I mean, does it surprise you? They look after themselves, don't they? Eh? But hey, we got to thank them for that, don't we? And without shooting, there would just be some rough shooting for us, wouldn't there? Do you ship internationally? Depends what you want shipping, Andrew. Because at the end of the day, I used to sell dogs worldwide. It's just not.
Talking about your merchandise.
Yeah, but the merchandise is just a joke, Andrew. I don't want to start selling merchandise. I like to give a few things away as prizes and stuff like that, and say thank you to people for supporting me, and we'll have a few laughs and that. But to be honest with you, who wants to buy a T-shirt with my picture on there? To be honest with you, I mean, I just do this for a Mickey take. To be honest with you, I just take the piss, don't I? I've had it good on our shoot, too good, in fact. Fed in the morning, coffee and tea, fed at dinner, fed at tea time, then free booze, and they pay me. Feel like I've robbed them every time. There you go. You're not robbed them if you give them the birds and put the birds up in the air for them and collect them and pick them. It's that's what's nice about it. When you get into a lovely group of shooting people, and it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, and everyone treats everybody equally. That's exactly the same as what we're talking about racial tensions, isn't it? We bring people from all walks of life: terrier men, roughheads, ex-army, you know, old pensioners, young kids, horsey people, farming people. Such a nice group of people on shoots most of the time, isn't it? You get such a nice mixture of group of people, and these people don't know what they're missing, do they? They just don't know what they're missing, because if you've not done it, you don't know, do you? I've had some wonderful, wonderful times on shoots, some big shoots and some small shoots, and I appreciate that. No matter what has happened and how the politics gets involved with it, with the trial world. Um, I've walked away from the trial world, but I speak about the trial world because it was my passion. It was my shop window. But at the end of the day, we've got to move on, and I enjoy helping people train their dogs. I'll tell you a little story. I won't mention his name unless he's listening, and if he wants to come on and call me out, feel free. But I had a guy who was supposed to be coming this week, and he sent me an essay on his dog and what it was doing, and it was a pet dog, and it could be a gun dog if he wants to, but mainly a pet dog, and all the things it's doing wrong. And I read the essay, and it took me about 40 minutes by the time I read the essay, what he actually wrote, and I contacted him back, and he said, "When can you? I'm coming down to St. Ives. Can you do a lesson for me?" And I said, "Yes, no problem at all. When are you down? Give me a contact me." So I'm down on this day and this week. So I said, "I can do Friday for you, Tuesday for you, 11 o'clock." He didn't come back to me, and then 5-6 days later, he come back to me and said, "You've not been bothered to come back to me. Now, is it on for tomorrow? Or can you answer these questions?" And he gave me a freaking list. Nobody's going to dictate to me about what does the lesson entail? How much does it cost? I want your name and I want your address and your number. I, I just thought, why be rude? Why be so demanding? Why be so direct? So I wrote back to him and said, "Listen, it's not my fault that you haven't replied back to me in 5 days, but I did put you on the calendar and put you in for that." There you go. Paul Jarvis says, "Fuck him off." Yes, that's what he needed. He needed to be told to fuck off. But guess what? I was still trying to be diplomatic at that point. But I said to Sue, I said, no, I'm telling him straight. If he'd come back to me to confirm that date was okay and that time was okay, I would have then given him my address and told him what time to be. No, he knew the time, when to be here. But it wasn't that. It was the way he asked the question. And if you want to be rude to me, and you could say, well, perhaps it's not rude, it was just very direct. Well, you don't talk to people like that, because you're not going to get the best out of me. Because if you come here and you talk to me like that, and you've booked it in, and you come in and you've talked to me like that, you're only going to get dead on 1 hour, and then you're off out the frigging door, pal, and you might not even get a coffee. People come here and I give them a service, not a servicing. I give them a service. Right. And I believe in being polite with people. I believe in being constructive. I have to give constructive criticism, and I'm there to get the best out of them and let them enjoy themselves. Why do I want them back? Of course I want them back if they're happy and they want to learn and go away and work on what I tell them. But I'm in a situation where I can say to someone, if you're not going to put the work in, don't freaking bother coming back, pal. Is that rude? No, it's straightforward. If you're not going to put the work in, don't bother coming back. Who's lost out, really? He has. Because if I read out the list of shit that his dog's got the problems with, and it's 8 months old, then guess what? Who's missed out? He's missed out, not me. But I could have been rude to him and told him to F off. But I didn't. I said, if you'd come back to me, but he didn't even bother coming back to me after that email. So that's another customer that's not happy. How many of them do I get? How many customers do I get that's not very happy, Sue? Here she goes. She's writing a list. She'll eventually get there, everybody.
Not very many. I mean, you can count them on one hand and still have spare fingers, can you?
Just count them on one hand and still have spare fingers.
Right, Matt Crew, can you answer Matt Crew's question, please?
Matt, where's Matt? Come on, Matt. I can't find it. Come on, Susan. Read it out loud.
Do you often see
Not very often if you train them right, Matt. If you do you often see dogs pick birds and then drop them on the way back to pick another? Yes, you do, but not my dogs, because if you train them right, they don't do it. But you see many dogs on the shoot doing it, and if you, it's that first season. If you protect the dog in the first season, if a bird comes down, you're looking at the bird, but you're also looking down at your dog. And if your dog's looking at that bird, you can send the dog for that bird because you know the dog's marked it. Now, with a young dog, on the odd occasion, they may drop another bird very close, and he may do that, and you just go, "Hey, come here," and the dog's got to come away from that. At the end of the day, you train for it in the field by throwing a number of dummies close to each other, and the dog's supposed to go out and pick the dummy and come back. But sometimes the excitement of another bird coming out of the sky can be a little bit testing for a young dog. So it's a matter of training the dog not to do that. But do I see many dogs on shoots doing that on a regular basis? Many times. Untrained dogs. So I hope that answers the question. Anyway, that's 1 hour and 6 minutes, you lot. And we've had 47 thumbs up. So that's really nice of you. And we've had 70 odd people in the house, and that's really nice. So most people are willing to drive 300 plus miles and want to get the best out of their dogs. Paul Crocker. That is the endorsement, isn't it, Paul? When you see people traveling as far as they travel, I thought we'd do 1 hour. I thought I'd do 1.5 hours like last week. John Wilson. What's he on about?
Last week it went up for an hour and a half, didn't it?
What did?
Your live feed.
All right. I thought you meant when you came down here. I thought you did more than an hour and a half. You cheeky bastard. He's gonna have ask for me cup back then.
He always says his tea tastes better in his new cup.
His new cup, yeah. And that's down to Soul. Do you know what? Last night we were chatting to Soul last night till freaking gone 12 o'clock. Honestly, us dog people, we've got nothing better to do, have we? So anyway, everyone, that's going to be Chris Upton. Thank you, Soul, for keeping me up all night long. Just to let you know, out walking Prince one night, 2 staffy dogs. I got him. Lucky I managed to keep the dogs at bay. They were both off their leads. No control, no discipline. Pierre, please tell us. Please, Pierre, phone me, please. Phone me and tell me before we go. Phone me now and tell me what you did. Come on, you kept them at bay, 2 staffies. What did you do? Everyone's kung fu fighting. He was fast as lightning. That's all right. That's a Pierre joke with me and Pierre. He's a martial arts expert. Keep it quiet, everybody. It's origami. No, what's it called again, Pierre? What do you do? Not Shih Tzu. What's it? Come on. What is it, Pierre? Come on, tell everyone. What piece did you throw to the staffy? No, you won't understand that. We all understand that. What body part did you surrender?
Offer a body part.
Yeah, offer a body part. Oh, I hope poor old Robert's not watching. Honestly, we'll have bad press again.
Only body part that you're willing to lose, sir.
Sue, I want to ask you a serious question. If I had to protect you with my life and give up a body part, what body part would it be, Sue? Did you hear in the background, everyone? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you see that sick giggle? That very sick giggle. He picked it up and threw it off the nearest balcony. Akita, I will ring you. Go on then, ring us then. We're all waiting before they go. Come on then, ring us. Come on, tell us now. Come on, tell us what happened. We're dying to know. Did you get an origami? Come on, did you give him a judo throw? Those legs. Stop it, Robert. Honestly, that's what the girls used to always say. Those legs. They used to look all right when they played rugby. They used to be quite muscly as well. I suffer from leg cramps these days. Freck me, is there staffy training in Aikido? Yeah, no, he said he had to fend the dog off. He said he kept the dog back and fended them off, and we were waiting for him to come on and give us the SP. What happened? He's shy. That's the problem with Pierre. I wanted to know if he laid him out, if he choked him out, if he choked the staffies out, or Because I mean, here he comes. He's coming in the house. He's coming in the house. Where is he? Oh, he's gone again. Oh, we nearly had him in the house then. What's going on? What? Hello? 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 You always call me on the landline, Pierre. How come you've called me on the internet?